Hey there folks, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an impression on Stardew Valley. It's developed by Concerned Ape, and it's available on Steam at the regular price at around $15 USD. Now Stardew Valley has been making quite the amount of waves for PC gamers everywhere. It's essentially Concerned Ape's take on, what's that game called? Harvesy Moon, an old classic farming RPG, and indeed, that's kind of what Stardew Valley is. It's a classic farming RPG, right? I'm sure many of you guys already know about the game. I'm a little late to do this impression, but I wanted to get a fair amount of experience before I actually talk about it, of course, right? I'm about, let's check Steam, about 8 hours in. And I'll be honest with you, even with 8 hours in, I feel like I've just started the game. It's a huge game. We'll talk more about that, obviously, when we jump further into the video. But for the time being, let's just load a game that we got started here. Alright, we're going to select Al. That's our guy here. We're at the 23rd of spring on year 1. And I'm poor as hell. But anyways, yes, this is Stardew Valley. Like I said, this is a farming RPG, and as you would expect from farming RPGs, you're a farmer, and your goal is to grow a bunch of crops, to be a successful farming business person, if you will. But there's also some Animal Crossing mixed into this game as well. Like, there's a town over here, and there'll be special things that'll happen randomly sometimes, right? There'll be like the townspeople, they'll have birthdays, and you can give them gifts, and they'll like you more, and you can develop relationships with them, and then you can visit their homes more often because they'll let you in without them actually being in there, and other little interesting perks of that sort, right? So there's a lot of stuff to this game, and indeed there definitely is a lot of stuff in this game. I guess I should probably show you some of the core mechanics in this game first and foremost. Like I said, this is the town. You'll be spending a lot of time here. You'll be going into the shop over here when it's open. Right now it's not. It's only 7:20 a.m., which you can see at the top right hand corner. It opens at 9 a.m. and some stores will have different stores will have varying opening and business hours and all that stuff, just like what you would expect from real life, I guess. But yeah, they'll do things. They'll sell you drinks. You can meet people at the bar. You can buy things from the store, and etc., etc. What you would expect from a farming RPG, right? So anyways, this is the main town. Like I said, this is kind of like the hub area where you'll be doing a lot of your social stuff, a lot of your micromanaging as far as purchases is concerned, and business stuff, you know. And I'll show you the map here. It's actually a fairly large map for the most part. I'm still, like I said, I feel like I barely scratched the surface. There is a train station, or a bus station over here. I think there's a train station somewhere as well. But anyways, the bus can take you to other towns. I just haven't had access to them yet, because again, even 8 hours in, I feel like I've barely done anything in this game. But yeah, this is just a really big game, so I'm trying to get at. But anyways, back to the core mechanics. So you have a few basic tools when you first start off. You have your rake. Actually, that's your axe. That's your rake. This is your watering can for obviously watering your plants. Oh, this one's done. Yeah, we got a potato. Nice. And we have a pickaxe for pickaxing things like mining, for example. Then you have your scythe, which is really good for clearing away grass and shrubbery and all that kind of stuff, you know. You can get potentially loot out of them, whether it be seeds or fiber and all that kind of stuff. And as you would expect from a game like this, there is also crafting as well. Alright, here's a bunch of stuff that I could craft right now if I wanted to. We made a scarecrow over here. And here we go, a scarecrow. To keep them pesky crows out of our crops, you know. And we have a forge over here to forge metals, to craft into other tools and the such. And you'll gain recipes for new tools and objects and fertilizers and all that kind of good stuff as you level up or as you find new recipes through your travels and adventure, right? And of course, like an RPG, you can actually level up as well. Here I am just chopping down some trees. Obviously a good way to get wood and saplings and tree materials that you would expect, right? Here we go. This is our stats. And the more you use a certain skill, whether it be farming or mining or forging, etc., the higher your stat will grow, right? So it's kind of like the old Skyrim. Or not Skyrim, like the old Oblivion leveling system, where the more you use a skill, the more powerful that skill will become, right? That's generally how it works. I don't think you actually, do you actually have, I don't know if it actually has, you know, a character level. If there is, I haven't found it. But anyways, that's essentially how the game works. You know, you go on adventures, you craft things, and all of that. You do all of it for the sake of making money, and again, to expand your farm. This is our farm right now. We got a bunch of parsnips planted. We got some green beans, some random seeds. We got some potatoes, you know, a whole bunch of different stuff. And they obviously cost money. And you can find the seeds in the wilderness, but they seem to be kind of rare. Generally speaking, I buy my seeds from the store. And this is your mailbox where you get random mail. Dear Al, tomorrow we're all getting together for the flower dance. If you can find a partner, you might even want to participate in the dance yourself. Here's a little clearing beyond the forest, or there's a little clearing beyond the forest west of town where we hold the dance. Arrive between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. if you're interested. Mir Lewis. So every now and then you'll get random quests or random events, and usually they're indicated by a mail that you can clearly see from the mailbox. And over here, you can sell your stuff, and you'll get your profit when you go to bed, right? On the bottom right-hand corner, you have an energy meter, and that will decrease as you take more actions, whether it be farming or farming. Basically, almost anything that you do takes up energy, right? Mostly like actions, like when you're using your tools. Mostly, right? Let's just visit the store, seeing how it's open, right? Here's a store. You can talk to this fella here, and he'll sell you a bunch of seeds and stuff of that sort. Sometimes he'll give you quests. And this is a lady here, Abigail, blah blah blah. And you press the select key. I am using the gamepad, which the game works fine with, even though it states that it's mostly optimal for keyboard and mouse. I had zero issues using my Xbox controller for this game, and I actually prefer using my Xbox controller for this game, although it does work fine with keyboard and mouse as well. But anyways, these are a bunch of quests that I've picked up along the way. Introductions is an interesting one that I picked up like right in the beginning of the game. I still haven't completed. I need to talk to one more different person in order to complete it. But anyways, enough about that. Hey buddy, get out of my way. I'm trying to get out. That's one thing though. The characters, they have a hitbox and they can block you. And sometimes that can be annoying when they block a certain entrance or exit way, right? But anyways, yeah, the game's all about micromanaging your resources, deciding on whether you want to keep your materials that you've grown and found for profit or for crafting, right? Either way is legitimate, but I'm selling for profit because money is nice, and the stuff that I want currently, like a chicken coop for example, cost me 4,000 gold, and I am poor and broke, so I'm trying to sell pretty much everything I got. Although, you know, I could technically keep that material to start crafting different things such as fertilizers, different seeds, field snack, life elixir, etc., etc., right? And it's not just farming, there's also like adventuring and dungeon crawling involved as well, which I'm trying to get to right now. You can go into a mine and basically explore the mines and mine for material, right? And yeah, I'm trying to take us there now so I can show off that a little bit. there's also some magic stuff going on as well. There's a wizard tower over here, and he'll give you spells and that sort of thing, I think. I don't know. I haven't had full access to that yet, but it seems like there's some like magical stuff and abilities that you can gain from the looks of it. But it doesn't seem to be working. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is the mine. This is kind of the dungeon, right? If you die in here, which I did, unfortunately, you'll forget all your progress, or at least a large portion of your progress, in which you have to descend down the mine all over again. One of my quests is go deeper into the mine, reach level 0. I reached all the way to level 23, then I died, and now the game wants me to descend all over again. And whereas previously, if you didn't die, if you remembered all your progress, or if your character remembered all this progress, you can just take the elevator and go down to your last left off level, right? But anyways, so this is the mine. What do you do in here? Well, you mine, you gather materials, and through that you'll also find a descending entranceway to go further down into the mine, right? And that's kind of random. Sometimes it spawns from killing enemies, sometimes it spawns from you know, destroying rocks and all that kind of stuff. But this is the equivalent of a dungeon run in any given RPG, right? There's enemies, as you can see. The combat's pretty simple. You know, you equip a weapon and you hack and slash. And the weapons do have some weapons have special traits. Like the weapon that I'm using right now, the sword, can block. Whereas I have a dagger too, don't I? Oh, I lost a dagger. That's unfortunate. But I had a dagger in which if I use the special ability, it kind of stabs really, really quickly, right? And that's its feature. And yeah, that's essentially how mines and dungeons work in this game. And you can find certain things in here. I found, let's see, I found some bootsies here, leather boots. It adds to my immunity and my defense, which is pretty cool. So you can find equipment pieces in said dungeon or mine as well. And of course materials like copper ore, which is relatively valuable, especially for crafting. Or again, you can process it into forge, into ingots, and sell it if you like. Whatever you want, right? So to put it simply, this game has a ton of stuff for the player to explore and to kind of play around with. And it's very, very open-ended. You can play kind of any way you want. You can do your business any way you want. Like I said, you can keep the materials for crafting. You can use the materials for selling. You can give it to the people of the town and have them like you more. And they'll give you perks through that as well. So there's definitely a very large variety of way to play the game. You know, you could be a socialite, you can be a pure farmer, you can be an adventurer, and if I'm right about the wizard tower and the spells, I guess you can be a wizard as well. I don't know yet, right? I haven't gotten that far, and that leads to my next point. This game is huge. It's absolutely enormous. Like I said, I'm 8 hours in, almost 9 hours in, and I really feel like I've just started the game. I feel like there is so much more for me to explore and to take in and to understand about this game. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who are watching are saying, yeah, Aldershot, you do. You're still a noob. You're still at the beginning of the game. I'm sure, right? But overall, from what I've experienced so far, it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. You just, because of how open-ended and how sandboxy Stardew Valley is, it can lead the player to be, I wouldn't say confused, but a little bit overwhelmed, like I said earlier, right? At first, I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I mean, is this a farming game? Do I plant seeds and grow crops? And at first, that was very, very difficult, because seeds are very expensive, and they're relatively hard to find in the wild, right? So I was like, well, I'm a terrible farmer, because I have like 3 crops growing, right? And the beginning of the game really is about adventuring and finding out things until you get more information and materials to do other things with, right? The game does slowly ease you into all its mechanics, and I think it's still slowly easing me into probably more mechanics I just don't know about yet, just because of how big this game actually is. And because of that, you know, for some players, and that could very well include myself, at least in the beginning, the game can feel very overwhelming, and that can put off some people. But if you have the patience and you give it a shot and you keep playing and you keep pushing forward, the game is very rewarding as well. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff to unlock, and there's still a lot of stuff for me to unlock that I haven't even seen or experienced yet, right? And again, I'm almost 9 hours in. So it's huge. It's an absolutely huge game, especially for $15, which is more than a reasonable price for a game like this. Now, the only thing about Stardew Valley is the progression is relatively slow. Even once you understand or get a a good grasp of how to play the game, the progression is very slow. And like I said, starting your farm is excessively slow. In fact, right now I'm planting a lot of cheap crops because, like I said, I'm very poor, and yeah, and I think most people will be for the first 12 hours of their game, right? Unless you guys are amazing business people and know a business strategy that I just couldn't come up with, which is possible, I guess, because of how open-ended the gameplay is in this game. But yeah, it is relatively slow to progress. Even the quests are relatively slow to complete at times. And like I said, the introduction quest I've gotten in the very beginning of the game, I've still yet to complete. I still have to find one more new person to greet in order to complete that quest. And yeah, so you're gonna. This game definitely requires some patience, and the game also is a little bit repetitive, arguably, because you do live day by day, and sometimes the days just repeat each other. You know, sometimes you use up your energy very quickly, and in order to complete the task that you had in mind, you need to take 2 or 3 days to do it, and that can be a little bit repetitive. Because your energy bar is fairly limited, and maybe because I just, I'm still relatively new to the game, and I haven't expanded my energy bar as much as I would like, that limits the amount of actions that I can take per day, and that's causing some repetition on my part. But regardless of that, in the beginning of the game is very repetitive, you go around, you collect things, and you water your crops, whatever little crops you have, and you do it all again the next day, except sometimes, a random event might happen, which is a nice mix, of course. And that does happen to a pretty decent degree, actually. The game, even though I mentioned that it can be a little bit repetitive, the game does do its absolute best to mitigate that repetition with, once again, random events and certain, maybe random quests that might show up at your doorstep and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so the game's huge. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's talk a little bit about the game's presentation and its graphics before I end this impression here. Oh, we're getting tired. We better get out. I mean, I think you guys can clearly see it's going for a classic 8-bit kind of Nintendo look, right? It's very classic JRPG looking almost, and I mean, I think it suits the game quite well for what it's trying to do, especially if it's a Harvest Moon kind of inspired game, and Harvest Moon certainly had this sort of graphic, so it's definitely catering to the right audience as far as this presentation is concerned. And all the menus and all that kind of stuff is pretty well conceptualized. It stays within the confines of the style of the graphics that it has going for it, and does it well. It emulates the classic 8-bit look very well while keeping it very clean. The animation is detailed and suiting to the game's atmosphere. So yeah, it's good. It does the job pretty well. Whether or not you like this kind of 8-bit graphics, I think I can still objectively say that the 8-bit graphics that's being featured here is done well. It's skillfully illustrated and put together. So yeah, I got no real problems with the presentation style. However, there's a couple of things though, like the map here. It does a pretty good job at letting me highlight, certain areas to let me know where I'm supposed to go. But you can't place markers, which is really unfortunate. And when you highlight your quests, it tells you it gives you an idea of where you're supposed to go, like raising animals. It tells you build you a coop. You read the description, it tells you have to go to the carpenter. But you can't select the quest and then the quest highlight where you're supposed to go on the map. which is fairly minor, but it certainly doesn't help the player's quality of life, right? It still demands the player to kind of hover over each individual building in order to find out where the hell the carpenter area is. There it is, right there, right? So it didn't take too long, but also because I have prior knowledge of it. But, you know, it would be a little bit more convenient, a little bit more user-friendly if it just highlighted it for me or allowed me to place markers. And there's also no mini-map either, right? So navigating, I wouldn't say is too much of an issue. It's actually, you know, it's the nice thing about this map is that it shows you clearly what paths you can take to get to said location, which is great. But I think a compass or a mini-map or quest markers or player placed markers would certainly still help the navigation of this game. But it's relatively minor, and that complaint is mitigated once again by the clarity of the paths that's being shown that leads you from one area to another, right? So, you know, to sum up some of my thoughts about Stardew Valley, it's a good game. It absolutely is. For $15 and this amount of content, it's exceptionally good, actually. You know, the amount of content that this game provides and the amount of game time that the player has, you know, on hand to play with is just incredible, to be honest. For $15, to be honest, they could have easily charged $25, $30 for this game, and I would still say the game is absolutely worthwhile just because of the amount of content and things to do in this game, right? And the random events and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, do keep in mind the game's not perfect. It is a little bit repetitive at times. It is very slow to get moving. It really, really is. And there's the damn crow. Get out of here! And it can be a little bit overwhelming in the beginning because of how open and how much stuff there is in this game. So do keep that in mind as well. And also, you know, the graphics, although I like it, it might not be attractive to everybody, right? I know a very large amount of PC gamers or just gamers in general who really don't like pixel art in their games, right? They're just sick of seeing pixel art in indie games or in any game at all. It just seems to be overused is their common criticisms of this style. And, you know, that's fine. Personal taste and all that stuff. They're not wrong. They don't like it. They don't like it, right? I can't say that they're wrong, but I don't mind it, you know. But if you do have a problem with pixel art, this is definitely not a game for you. It's obviously very, very pixel art oriented. But yeah, that's basically Stardew Valley. It's a very good game. It's a very, very good game with a whole bunch of content packed in for an extremely reasonable price. I would even say a cheap price, right? And for a very well thought out, very well designed farming RPG. And I haven't really played a good farming RPG since, like, I don't know, like Harvesy Moon 2 or something like that. A long, long time ago since I played a good farming RPG. And this one is one of the first I played in almost decades that I've actually taken the time to enjoy. You know, something else I do want to mention that I mentioned that the game's pacing, at least in the beginning, is very, very slow. I did find myself kind of bored, admittedly. The first few hours, I had to take breaks. I'm like, oh god, there's so much to take in and so much repetition at the same time. I gotta play a different game for a little bit. But when I came back into it, and I put a little bit more time into it, and I had, you know, gave it a little bit more patience, I got a good sense of satisfaction expanding my farm and slowly getting to know the townspeople and the game itself. So the game does require a little bit of patience, but it is very, very rewarding if you do put the time into it, right? So there you go, guys. Stardew Valley, definitely a worthwhile $15, I think. I think this is going to be a pretty easy recommendation, just based on the amount of content that it gives you, solely. And luckily for us, it's not just a lot of content. The content is actually pretty good. A little bit slow going, but pretty good all the same, right? Anyways, folks, that's about it. Hopefully you folks enjoyed. And hopefully you folks found this informative. And if you did, you know, show me some love. Like, share, fave, and comment. Let me know if you're playing the game and let me know what you think of it as well. Give me some tips in the comment as well, because I'm just kind of making this up as I go. I haven't looked up any guides or watched any Let's Play. I'm just winging this right now, right? So you have any tips, feel free to leave in the comments as well. But anyways, folks, if you haven't already, subscribe. I'll bring you lots more video games just like this. Thanks for watching, everybody. All the shout outs.